Inequality exists in every society, at every moment in history, no matter the system. Today, I read an article on Substack that questions meritocracy. According to that article, the liberal system is unjust for two reasons. First, because by seeking to reduce the state, it would be abandoning the most vulnerable classes. The state is, therefore, proposed as the main resolving entity, tasked with correcting class differences. Second, because liberalism allegedly fails to take into account that in order to reach the same point, defined as success, people from different social strata must travel different paths. A disadvantaged person has far more difficulty buying a house than someone from an upper-class background. In this sense, the argument points to inheritance as the main cause of inequality. But the fundamental error of socialism is confusing inequality with injustice. Inequality is not a product of liberalism or the market. It is a structural condition of social life. It appears in tribes, empires, communes, monasteries, republics, and dictatorships. Wherever there are humans, there are differences in talent, temperament, intelligence, ambition, health, family environment, and historical luck. Demanding that a political system erase essential inequalities to assign social engineering a metaphysical task, repairing the human condition. Liberalism does not promise equality of outcomes, a typically utopian promise, but rather relative mobility within an unequal framework. It does not deny the slope, it builds steps. That is why the meritocratic argument does not claim that everyone will succeed, but that no one is condemned by definition. The system does not guarantee success, but it prevents the structural closure of failure. Blaming the system for not eliminating inequality entirely is like blaming medicine for not abolishing death. The state as a necessary but risky tool. Now let's talk about the state. The article falls into another classic idealization. The state as a benevolent, rational, and morally superior entity. This is a dangerous abstraction. The state is not a neutral spirit or an abstract intelligence. It is a concentration of power administered by humans. And concentrated power does not correct human vices, it amplifies them. Historical experience is clear and repetitive. When the state presents itself as the great moral redistributor, it ends up functioning as a new aristocracy, separated from the productive class. It does not matter whether the regime is democratic or dictatorial communism. The result is the same. Resources do not flow to those most in need, but to clientelist networks, bloated bureaucracies, and political elites that reproduce themselves. Liberalism does not deny the need for the state, but it limits it precisely because it understands human moral fragility. Education, healthcare, and basic assistance, yes. A redemptive, omnipresent, paternal state, no. At this point, someone will say, so you're defending privilege? No. I'm defending reality. Regarding the argument that families who inherit wealth are privileged, this is a deeply biased view. Inheritance is not a privilege, it's a right. One of the producer's motivations is not only to produce for oneself, but also to produce for one's family. Human beings do not produce only for themselves, they produce for their descendants. Attacking inheritance is attacking the intergenerational bond, not injustice. Eliminating inheritance does not equalize society. First, it destroys incentives. Second, it weakens the family. And third, it transfers wealth from concrete families to anonymous state structures that are historically inefficient. Paradoxically, those who criticize inheritance rarely question political, union, or academic inheritance. What bothers them is productive inheritance, because it does not depend on state favor but on accumulated effort. If there is anything to take away from all this, it is that the misuse of resources, risk aversion, academic mediocrity, or conformity do not disappear by decree. They are transferred into the future as generational debt. And if inheritance is so unjust, if the state is so efficient and morally superior, then there is a perfectly coherent option available in a free country. Donate your inheritance to the state. The fact that almost no one does so reveals something fundamental. The critique is not ethical, but rhetorical. Virtue is demanded from others, not sacrificed from oneself. Liberalism is not a promise of cosmic justice. It is a system designed to contain human damage. Faced with the fantasy of total equality, it offers something less seductive and more truthful: imperfect freedom in an imperfect world.